Chapter 87, Nine Fists. This chapter is updated by Novels.pl. Swish. Zhang Yuochen took 3 steps forward through the numerous sword shadows. Striking out with his sword, he pierced Liu Exu's glabella. Liu Exu's body froze, and a cut appeared on his forehead. Zhang Yuochen withdrew the flash-shining sword and took 3 steps back. Amazing, you win. Your talent is superior to mine, Liu Exu said and laughed. His body became more and more dreamlike, disappearing into wisps of spiritual chi until he vanished completely. Liu Exu's cultivation was truly powerful. He managed to withstand 93 of my strikes. He lives up to the name of the strongest mid-stage warrior of the Black Realm in the last 460 years. Of course, if I'd have used the power of Space Domain, I most likely would have defeated him within 10 strikes. Zhang Yuochen put the flash-shining sword into its sheath. Opening the metal door, he went straight to the second level. Having defeated Liu Exu, Zhang Yuochen did not need to continue to the second and third obstacles on the first level. He could go directly to the second. Juan Muxingling and Huang Yanchen let out a sigh of relief. Looking into each other's eyes, they could see their shock reflected back at them. He managed to defeat Liu Exu within 100 strikes. Juan Muxingling still could not believe it. Not only defeated, but killed. He managed to kill Liu Exu, who was in the same realm as him, within 100 strikes. That's scary, Huang Yanchen replied. I want to see how many levels and obstacles he can pass, Juan Muxingling said and narrowed her eyes. She felt a great deal of curiosity towards Zhang Yuochen. Zhang Yuochen entered the first obstacle of the second level in the Wu Tower. It was a sealed martial arts field, much like the one on the previous level. Swish. Another spiritual body warrior emerged from the rock. It was Liu Exu again. Liu Exu looked at Zhang Yuochen and smiled. We meet again. Zhang Yuochen was surprised and asked, you are the guardian of the second level as well? Liu Exu nodded and said, you're correct. Now, if you can withstand one of my strikes, you pass the first obstacle on the second level. However, there's one thing I must tell you. I'm now at the cultivation of the advanced stage of the Black Realm. I'm also the strongest of the advanced stage warriors. The strongest amongst the warriors in the advanced stage of the Black Realm? Zhang Yuochen said seriously. He dared not underestimate Liu Exu. Liu Exu was the strongest of the mid-stage. Now he is the strongest in the advanced stage. Given Liu Exu's current cultivation at the advanced stage, he shouldn't have any trouble defeating a warrior of the Dawn state of the Black Realm. Perhaps given his ability, he could even fight against warriors of the medium state. If you were a warrior of the mid-stage, it would be easier to try to climb straight up into the sky than to attempt to withstand a strike from a warrior of the medium state. However, Zhang Yuochen was not your average warrior of the mid-stage. Facing Liu Exu, he felt no fear at all and asked, what if I defeat you? Liu Exu smiled and said, if you can defeat me, you can not only pass the other 2 obstacles on the second level, but you can also pass the first obstacle of the third level. You're not going to use a weapon? Zhang Yuochen drew out his flash-shining sword and pointed it at Liu Exu. Liu Exu replied, if I used a weapon, few people would be able to pass the first obstacle on the second level. In fact, when other warriors were facing the first obstacle on the second floor, they were considered to have passed as long as they could stand after taking a strike from Liu Exu. Okay, let's fight, Zhang Yuochen said. First strike. Water Luo out of sea. Liu Exu's fingers clenched into a fist. Moving into his paces like a gust of wind, he reached a speed of 42 meters per second, a bit faster than that of normal warriors of the mid-stage. A normal warrior of the mid-stage probably wouldn't even see Liu Exu's shadow properly, much less withstand a strike from him. Zhang Yuochen did not use the power of his space domain. Instead, he moved his spiritual chi into his eye and ear meridians, and determined where Liu Exu would strike using his sight and hearing. Zhang Yuochen moved his body 1 step to the left and avoided Liu Exu's fist. Zhang Yuochen swung out with his sword, aiming towards Liu Exu's waist. The second strike, Water Luo returning. Liu Exu's body leapt like a flying fish, bending into an arc with his fist aimed towards Zhang Yuochen's chest. There seemed to be a little more power behind this strike than the previous one. His fist appeared in an instant in front of Zhang Yuochen. He would certainly be seriously wounded if he were to be hit by the fist. Sacred Bell Sword. Zhang Yuochen blocked the fist with the flat side of his sword. His great sword breath converged into the illusion of a huge bell. Boom! Liu Xu's fist connected with the surface of the illusion. The bell was immediately dented and shattered. The strength behind the strike sent Zhang Yuochen back. Liu Xu did not give Zhang Yuochen any time to breathe. He immediately followed up with a third strike. The third strike, Water Luo transferring sword. Liu Xu struck out with his fist and flew towards Zhang Yuochen like a sword breath. Fist into sword. Only after having practiced the fist's technique to a very high level could a warrior strike like a sword with their fists. Liu Xu is very powerful. If I hadn't practiced the Yellow Realm to the Ultimate Realm, we would be very evenly matched in the same realm. As Zhang Yuochen had practiced the Yellow Realm to the Ultimate Realm, he practiced one realm higher than Liu Xu. That was why he was able to defeat Liu Xu before. Now Liu Xu was one realm above Zhang Yuochen. It would be almost impossible to defeat him. Sacred Guiding Sword. Zhang Yuochen swung out with his sword and broke Liu Xu's attack. Following the strike, he did not retreat. Instead, he took the initiative and attacked Liu Xu. Meanwhile, in the secret room inside the Wu Tower, Huang Yanshan stared at the spiritual chi mirrors and said, Liu Xu is using a low-class spiritual grade martial technique, 36 fists of the water of Liu O. Sister Chen, while Liu Xu was in the advanced stage, how many fists of the 36 fists of the Liu O water did he learn? Juan Muxingling asked. 9. Huang Chenyan replied. Juan Muxingling nodded and said, how many fists do you think Zhang Yuochen can handle? Hard to say. Huang Yanshan shook her head slightly and said, Zhang Yuochen's talent is incredible. If he can withstand Liu Xu's 9 fists, he can force Liu Xu to a draw. That's impossible. Liu Xu is an incredible warrior. Few in the same realm can challenge him, never mind defeating him across realms. Juan Muxingling said. We'll find out. Zhang Yuochen has already withstood 6 of his fists. Huang Yanshan also found it incredible and had difficulty believing her own eyes. Liu Xu had been undefeated for the last 200 years. He has long been a legend of West Campus. It was already unbelievable that Zhang Yuochen had defeated Liu Xu in the same realm. It would definitely shock the campus if news got out. If Zhang Yuochen managed to cross realms and defeat Liu Xu, the result would be unimaginable. The 8th strike, Water Luo transferring dragon. Liu Xu's strength became increasingly powerful. Waves of genuine chi circulated around his body forming layers of water waves. It was as if he was punching on top of a massive river, releasing the sound of flowing water in the air. Howl. That giant river became a long water dragon over 10 meters long, surging towards Zhang Yuochen. Sacred Breaking Plum Sword. Zhang Yuochen struck out with his sword and struck the globule of the water dragon. His strike did not pierce the water dragon's forehead. Instead, it seemed as though it slammed into a metal wall, screeching. Boom. The flash shining sword in Zhang Yuochen's hand received a powerful shock, and almost flew out of his hand. His entire right arm went numb and he could not summon any strength into it at all. Liu Xu struck with his 9th fist. The 9th strike, Water Luo crushing. Zhang Yuochen gritted his teeth and would not admit defeat. Raising his left arm, he sent all the genuine chi in his body surging to his arm and cried, Dragon and Elephant returning to earth. The 3rd palm. Dragon and Elephant Prajna Palm. Boom. The 2 fists collided. 2 powerful forces clashed together, resulting in an ear-splitting sound. Zhang Yuochen spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backwards. He forced his body to recover its balance, taking a few steps back. Although he was hurt, he did not fall down. He summoned all the strength he had and remained standing. Zhang Yuochen's hands were sore and cracked. If Liu Xu were to strike again, he would certainly be defeated. Zhang Yuochen stared at Liu Xu standing in front of him and said, You win. Liu Xu shook his head and said, It's you who have won. I only learned 9 of the 36 fists of the Luo water when I was in the advanced stage of the Black Realm. Now I've attacked with all 9 fists, but still failed to knock you down. In your first strike, you only used 20% of your strength. In your second strike, you used 30%. With each strike you increased your strength by 10%, only on your 9th strike did you use all of it. If you had attacked with all your strength from the beginning, I wouldn't have been able to block your 9 strikes. Zhang Yuochen replied. Liu Xi smiled and said, that may be true, however, other warriors of the mid-stage only have to withstand one of my strikes at 20% and they will pass this obstacle. Zhang Yuochen nodded. He didn't feel disheartened at all. After all, his opponent was one of the strongest warriors in 460 years. Being in a realm inferior to him, there was no shame in being defeated. Zhang Yuochen also hadn't used the space domain. If he had, it would be hard to say who would win. The Liu Xi he saw now was only an illusion created with spiritual chi by the Wu Tower. He was not a real person. The battle ability of this illusion could never represent Liu Xi's true abilities. There was no point guessing who would have won. Zhang Yuochen rested a while until he felt mostly recovered. Then he walked to the metal door and went to the second obstacle on the second level. Zhang Yuochen did not defeat Liu Xi, so he had to pass the second and third obstacles on the second level. The second obstacle on the second level was a corridor 30 meters long and only 3 meters wide. On the wall of each side were small round holes. Walking into the corridor, short arrows in the length of a hand shot out of the holes. Zhang Yuochen did not draw his sword. Instead, he waved his sheath in the air, knocking all the arrows aside. He walked slowly down the 30-meter-long corridor. His feet never stopped moving and he seemed quite relaxed. This obstacle was easy only for him. If it were any other warrior of the mid-stage, avoiding the dense rain of arrows would not be an easy task.